What's up, Hexicans? What's up, Pulsians? What is up with crypto? What is up with entrepreneurism, startup, capitalism, all of the good things that pirates, like to talk about. So today I have an exciting guest, someone that the Hex community hasn't been really made aware of, someone that I've known for many years. He has been introduced to some of the other Hexicans, OG Hexicans. He does know them more recently. He's been following, he's going to talk about the fact that he's been following Hex because I've been commenting about it for a while, and I just don't think he jumped right in when he should have, but we might leave that alone because it's kind of a sore subject for all kinds of folks. But, Hex has been overperforming. Everyone knows that the Pulse sacrifice window is ongoing. There's a 19-day window of being able to participate in a political statement. Political statement is basically taking your money and burning it. All right, let's just put that out there. It's an emotional commitment of sacrifice. It's a financial commitment of sacrifice. And if you're going to have a set of people to drop free things onto, like the MetaMask and the Uni and all these other kinds of airdrops, why wouldn't you choose a set of people that believe in a particular political faction that you do, right? So Richard has put that out quite a bit, and that's what's going on right now. Very exciting that about $200 million has been sacrificed, somewhere around that number, maybe more. It was very emotional earlier to see Aubrey DeGray getting a little bit emotional from, Richard just tweeted something not long ago, and it was Aubrey making some commentary about the $10 million that was donated by someone that started out 10 years ago, had been following Aubrey and the SINS Foundation, the efforts to have us live longer through our genetics. Not just fix heart disease. I was in cardiology for quite some time, not just fix, strokes and the arthritis of wear and tear of a lifetime coming to basically our in years, but basically have us healthy and long living for who knows how long. So that's really the effort that the SINS Foundation has put, and that's the goal that they've put out for themselves. And Richard volunteering back in 2006, being associated with that institution, I think it's very amazing that this guy's had this long history. And so to give back to the community, I think, or to give back to SINS, and the strategy, the gameplay that's going on right now, the tax structure, the donation to a 501c3 is amazing. It's amazing. Last time I checked, it was $22 million had been donated directly to the SINS, and those people are going to get a tax write-off. I think that Aubrey was on that stream talking about 10 million and 3 million and many individuals that donated well over $1 million. And, a lot of other people that were, 500,000, 200,000 and so forth on down the line. But it's really exciting to be part of something that is going to punch through. I'm telling you guys, it's going to punch through the fog of crypto. Vitalik making a donation, and it gets a lot of hype, of $4 million. Peter Thiel, donating some, millions of dollars, but certainly not the 22 currently, and possibly 30 or $40 million that the SINS gets. So I think we're really breaking through. I talked earlier today also with Jason Hartman, and he's excited about what's been going on. That if you look him up on YouTube, he's a very successful podcast and real estate guy, associate with George Gammon and all these other kind of finance space people. And he was saying it's very exciting that us as Hexicans and as crypto political statement people putting $200 million into something of a launch, or of an airdrop or an option to the expense of and the lag really of Ethereum in the DeFi space. So today will be some crypto because honestly, Chase, my good friend that we're going to be talking with, a common friend between us, saw him walking down the street in Puerto Rico with a Bitcoin shirt on. And it's like having the same Indian feather in your cap and seeing someone across the river and you say, hey, you might be from my tribe. Maybe we should have this conversation. This was back in 2018. And it's led to a terrific friendship between Chase and I think that our personalities are very aligned. I think that our ADD of serial entrepreneurism is very aligned. I think he's actually much more experienced than I am as far as a lot of the things that he'll talk about today. As far as getting started, I started with selling chicken eggs door to door as a 13 or 14-year-old, and he did something else. So we're going to bring on Chase. I'm really excited to have this conversation to kind of make you guys aware of kind of what the thread is inside of an entrepreneur that leads them to greatness. So without further ado, let's bring on ChaseIdeas. Chase, are you there? Can I hear your sound today?
Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. There's on the microphone itself, I gave you a shirt. There's a green, and you can change the gains and the volume. So we might play with that just a little bit. I know that you got a green screen, and we're going to play with that. Also,
yeah, get everything dialed in.
Yeah, so a different time. Today's just going to be a green. So you might become a meme. Someone might take your still picture or your video from today and throw you up with some other just do it. Just do it kind of green screen stuff, man.
I'm used to it. I've been on the internet for quite a while.
You're gonna be a Shia LaBeouf competitor. Yeah, so very cool, very cool. So it sounds a little bit better today. I think we're gonna get you dialed in at a different time, but I think it's kind of tolerable as far as the mic. Maybe bring the mic. Can you bring it just a little bit closer to your head? I don't know if you can point it to you.
Is that a little better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. A little bit closer is good. And then can you change the camera? Just can you tilt it up so I'm not chopping off your head? Can you tilt up? Yeah, even though it's green screened? You're a standing desk.
I was gonna have a background, but
yeah. Short on time. So again, Chase, good friend. Why don't you tell the origin story about why you were in Puerto Rico back in 2018, and our common friend of Kirill discovered you that led to this. This great bridge between you and I.
Yeah, such a random chance encounter. Basically, I had moved from San Diego, California, just to enjoy kind of the tax incentive programs and more just kind of a new chapter in life and just explore. Kind of living internationally, but not so much. U.S. passport not required, and I was just walking down the street, just kind of enjoying the day, and I come across some Ukrainian guy that comes up to me. Hey, you're sure? I don't have any money on me. Can I give you some Ethereum and you give me cash? And I'm like, oh, okay.
Just a random.
Just super random. I'm just walking down the street, just to get out and have a walk and enjoy the day, kind of thing. Yeah. Just enjoy the weather. And Carol comes up to me and he's just like, hey, I need to go pay, buy some food or something, pay a bill, and they don't accept crypto around here. What's wrong with them? And basically just wandered up to me and was like, hey man, I see your shirt. Can I send you some Ethereum on your wallet real quick and cash me out and I can pay them, and boom, we bought a pizza basically, kind of the whole classic story. So yeah, that was a fun day. And then he introduced me to you, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So tell me. So I arrived in March of 18. I was doing a seminar thing. Me, you, Sam Capizzi, Snabot, Kinman Sanders, that's been on this channel before, and I've introduced to the other Hexicans. We were all basically here in that window, but you had been on the island before the conference. We came to the conference that was going on. And how long had you been here?
The end of January, beginning of February 2018.
And had you made this
my 30th birthday, I was just like,
you asshole. I'm so pissed off at how successful you are, all these decades younger than me too. So I'm always pissed off at these. Kinman is the same way. He's in his high 30s. You're in your young 30s.
13-year-old influencers and 18-year-old influencers making $50 million a year.
I used to be proud about having a credit score and being able to buy my own car at 14, but with a FICO.
That's what I mean. A totally different world nowadays.
Totally different world, man. It's crazy.
$200 million a year or whatever.
Yeah. So you were doing something in San Diego, maybe it was crypto, and then you heard about Puerto Rico and you did this e-commerce reason, or you did this capital gains reason. What was your reason for coming in here, man?
Mostly capital gains, but also, like, as you know, I do a lot of digital marketing and online consulting. So basically the export services, you know what I mean, was just like right up my alley because I can work from anywhere, and then you know what I mean, export services around the world. So
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, that was kind of the main motivation.
So the guys that are listening now and they'll listen later too, give me a story about who was Chase as a 10-year-old before he started his first business at 12. I mean, who was the 10-year-old Chase? What was that guy? It's a single family home. I mean, a two parent home. Was it? It was a what?
I always read a lot as a kid, and just you know, I mean, more I guess of inward, like I guess intellectual, or I guess you know, I mean, but like just inward reflecting and kind of introvert. And I mean, I had good friends. I still have a lot of friends from early childhood, but just like reading and kind of exploring my own interests, I guess. That was always kind of my own, I mean, marching to my own beat.
So yeah. So that was me also. I was very awkward as a 10 to honestly 17-year-old. All of my high school, all of my junior high school stage, extremely awkward. One, I was ridiculously skinny. My metabolism was super crazy fast. I had to eat like 5 meals a day, and I constantly was sugar like a hummingbird. Yeah, I mean, if you see pictures of me from that era, you'd be like, "Who is that guy?" Yeah.
No matter what he eats, it just drops off him.
Yeah, I hadn't hit puberty yet. All my friends are like talking girls and things like that. And you know, again, I liked girls a lot. I definitely loved the feminine energy and you know all the curves of you know me being a 16-year-old and her being a 16-year-old. I loved all that, but I had the awkward stage, like the ugly duckling stage. So I didn't really engage in all the craziness of high school. What about that for you? Was that were you interested in something?
Honestly, I mean, obviously my classmates can comment on it, but I guess that was kind of me coming into my own. And I started skateboarding, I guess, in like 6th grade. And I skipped 2 grades in school. So I skipped 5th grade and went right from 4th grade basically to 6th grade. So all the 6th graders are like, what the hell? Like, who's this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people either loved it or hated it. And I basically like kind of acclimated to that by kind of fitting into the whole like, oh, let's skateboard and like, yeah, I mean, be a regular teenager kind of thing, and kind of leaned into that for a year or two. And then I skipped another grade, going to a private school, and going from like into high school freshman year, just went directly from 8th grade to sophomore year basically. And then everybody's like, what the, like, you know what I mean?
You're
like,
2 grades ahead. Yeah.
We got a copy off this guy.
Yeah.
I mean? So all the people that are, yeah, I mean, they're, a lot of my classmates are, you know, I mean, peering over, like, hey, you know, like trying to befriend me, just like, hey, I know you're 2 years younger than me and you're getting better grades. Like, you know, so that was kind of I guess an awakening for me. I kind of became a little bit, I've always been I guess pretty sociable, but you know, I mean, that was kind of my coming into it of like, hey, you know, like I connect with people pretty well, and you know, and people definitely remember me. So pretty easy to create a network with that. You know, I mean, it's pretty.
So many people in the skating culture. So many people, like my brothers. I had stepbrothers, and they were into the building cars and circle dirt tracks of Texas, oval tracks. Nothing super high speed like NASCAR, but you know, just like mud dogging and things like that on the weekends.
Track racing and whatnot.
Horsemanship, cattle. That was my childhood, and so it was kind of this bravado of thumping your chest. But nothing of my friend circle was entrepreneurial except for me. I was a kid that bought candy as a 10 or 12-year-old at the 7-Eleven and then resold it, you know, that kind of thing.
I was blessed. My dad has always been very entrepreneurial, always worked for himself, or, you know, I mean, for a while there, built boats. This guy that like, I don't know if you ever heard of like the Coronado Del. Like the Del Coronado Hotel in San Diego. Yeah.
I mean, that's where the Marine Corps and all the SEALs, and that's where I was at as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it was back in the day, it was like its claim to fame was it was one of the first kind of destination tourism, you know what I mean, places that like boutique hotels that had ever opened back in like, I think the late 60s or 70s or something. Yeah. And it's a really cool story. Like my dad's old boss, Leonard, that he worked for, and like, this is kind of where a lot of my inspiration came from, is like the guy, like I don't know the exact story, but I mean he basically I mean, pulled everything he could together and like got in on this deal. Lived on the beach at the place, like in a little beach hut. So he's got this fancy hotel in the background. He's just on the beach living a little hut life, you know what I mean, as the owner. And probably nobody even, you know what I mean, oh, cool, like Leonard, what's up, man? And, yeah, so, but he basically started a yacht company, a boat company, as a tax write-off.
Right.
So he's got all these, I mean, he had, I think it was Horton Plaza in LA. He had the Coronado Del. He had like, you know, I mean, all these like grade A, class A, you know, I mean, real estate, like commercial properties all around the U.S.
Right.
That eventually got bought up by whatever the group. They went around buying all the malls. You know, I mean, like he had a bunch of malls and consumer like shopping fronts and whatnot. And when he died, you know, his son sold off like most of the holdings and made a killing, sold off the boat company and whatever. But just kind of growing up and seeing that and like going and deep sea fishing on his boats and kind of seeing, you know, I mean, that level of wealth and kind of just how like he was just some 90-year-old Jewish guy that was just hardworking and scrappy. You know, I mean, he came from nothing basically and like build this entire yacht company. Like I said, the yacht company is a write-off, but build this entire commercial.
Wait! You got to say that the yacht company. I'm just going to start that to write off on my other successes. I mean, Horton Plaza. Anybody that knows the U.S., this is primo real estate. Yeah. I'm
going to build boats instead of buying them, so I could write off all the expenses, basically. He wanted like a custom tailored. And it was all it was like a sports fishing yacht. You know, I mean, like they built them for science institutes. So like, what's the one in Monterey Bay Aquarium? If you look it up, it's like they still. Like, it's funny. It was a pilot program. They tested the boat, and they're like, "Dude, it works so well. We're gonna keep this thing." And they're like, "I'm pretty sure last I checked, it was still in service, like 20-something years later." You know what I mean? So they built the boat for like a 2-year pilot program. And like, "Hey, we're keeping this. Like, please don't take it." So he just donated it to him. It was like, "Cool, man. Like, enjoy. Write it off."
I love it. So,
it was just amazing. You know, I mean, contrast, I guess, to your surroundings, and you see that, and you're just like, it's definitely inspiring.
So some people are born into families and they follow their family's track. You know, like if you're a farmer, you're probably going to be a farmer.
Yeah.
You're in the arts, you're probably going to be associating with other artists and become an artist. Do you feel like your start, at least the seed of your personality that's today, do you think that was nurture or nature? You think that was the environment you were in and the inspiration from your family, or how do you kind of?
A little bit of both. Obviously, I mean, I think that whole discussion could go on for quite a while. I think it's a little bit of both. Like I said, I was blessed early on to kind of see these people that, like my dad has always kind of made his own way and just worked his butt off. And he's a real salt of the earth kind of bootstraps. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of guy.
Yeah.
Master mechanic and like mechanical engineer. And just, seeing that and just realizing early on, like, hey, like people work 9 to 5 and make whatever, but you can make $200 to $500 a day and you're way ahead. You know what I mean? And basically breaking it down, and what he told me, I think one of his quotes was like, just early on when I first started kind of heading into business for myself, he was just like just focus on, that day, if you can make $250 that day and like every day make it consistent, then you're going to do well. You're going to come out ahead. It's not, people look at it and they're like, oh man, I want to make $100,000 a year. And it seems so unachievable and this and that. And you got to break it down into steps. And,
well, that's just shy of $100,000. 250 a day is just shy of $100,000 as far as the.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
number.
About $300 or whatever a day with taxes and everything, depending. Yeah, and most people they think like they'll spend $300 in a day, but not even think about like, oh, if I was making that back, or if I was focused on income producing streams.
Right.
So it's a different mentality for sure, different mindset, and I think that's what a lot of that's what you want to talk about as we go.
Yeah. So I want to use an example of someone that I highly respect. I enjoy his content every time I get an opportunity. And again, it's fleeting amount of time that we all have. It's all scarce. Is Ballet Brand. I'm going to bring this question up because Ballet Brand has been he's been supportive as a Hexagon, but he's also kind of stepped into the role of his own broadcast, his own channel, right? He's got a great following now that he's been building as far as his social media platforms. And I think that he snips up other people's content. I know that I had commented 2 years ago and said, hey, if I broadcast something, I don't have the time to basically snip up a 2-hour stream or something, but get the little 30-second sound clip, get that and broadcast it out. And so I believe he's Hex Clips channel as well. So this question is really kind of for you, Chase. I know you got started as a 12-year-old, 14-year-old. I think I've interviewed Ballet Brand before, where he kind of grew up in a family that his parents were, his father was entrepreneurial as well. But can you kind of read this question and let's go over it a little bit? Kind of one of the questions, but is there anything you would do over if you got the chance?
Absolutely.
Giving, and again, Ballet Brand's a 20-year-old, so he's looking for that advice. I'm upset with you that you're so successful as a young 30 guy, but what would you tell?
I'm not perfect. I've had plenty of battle scars and hard-won lessons as we talked over the years. And so as a 20-year-old, if I could go back and talk to my 20-year-old self, I would say just stay focused. Don't get distracted by friends talking about this or that, or stick to your guns and just really if you feel like that, like they say, like it's not about so much passion. Like find something you're passionate about, but be disciplined, because passion and inspiration and all that runs out. But if you're disciplined and like you, Gary, if you're constantly chipping away at it, or like as my dad says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, because you can't, not all at once. Just at 20, start laying that foundation. A lot of my friends, when we were in our 20s and stuff, they would just party all the time. And in my mid 20s or whatever, like after I broke up with my long-term girlfriend, I kind of got into that with them a little bit, but they always knew me as the guy that was just working all the time. Oh, Chase, you want to come hang out? Like, yeah, I'll come hang out for a little bit, but I got to go work, or I got to go meet a client afterwards. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, wow. Like, okay. And so all through college, I didn't drink. I just, basically just ran around, drove 30 or 40,000 miles a year on my little Civic. And, just got around and networked and, met people, worked on their computers, built systems, and just learned as much as I could. So in your 20s, just try to learn as much as you can. Like I said, stay focused and just keep your head on straight, because you got the rest of your life is right around the corner, and it goes by quick.
So you've always been an intelligent guy, obviously talking over the skipping over the grades, and then having this curiosity, very much similar to Gates or a Jobs, or actually not, more like a Wozniak, about computer systems. In your youth, engaging and understanding and helping other people. That kind of was the path of the internet. You were born into the internet world, kind of, right?
You were in the darkness. I was born in the darkness.
Born in the darkness.
I was right in that generation where we were right on the cusp of, we still had cassette players and stuff like VHS, tapes and stuff when we were kids, and
Blockbuster.
Totally.
Blockbuster probably ruined my entrepreneurial drive for a bit. I could have been, 10 times more, wealthy if Blockbuster and fucking Pac-Man and Galaga wasn't distracting my energies.
Yeah, well, and it's really mostly about that analog and digital. Like a lot of people nowadays don't understand the whole analog side of things, or the simplistic side of how the digital kind of the engineering process. You know what I mean? Because it's real world, it's pretty hands-on stuff can be pretty understandable or simple for them. Mm-hmm. But then abstracted, it's whoa, what's this whole new world? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think we were blessed to have, that kind of experience in my generation of both sides of it. Because we're living in a totally different world these days. So.
Yeah. So tell me your earliest business, the first thing that you did. I think I don't know if you even count I don't know that, what is it, bar mitzvah is at 13? I don't know if you would have even qualified for a bar mitzvah.
Families where we'd get paid to mow the lawn, so that was always my thing. It's I get whatever $5 to mow an acre of just grass. My parents had a cool place in El Cajon, California. It was we had 6 or 7 horses for my mom, and they rode, recreationally and whatnot. And my dad had his little car shop in the corner, and nice little property. and basically a full gut rehab. So that's another thing. Like early on, one of my like main childhood experiences was moving as a kid into this like it was totally dilapidated. The walls were like, broken down, and like it was like a drug house that had been like foreclosed and just totally, shut down. And my dad came in and made a sweet offer, and got it for a song. And I think the church kind of pitched in, and like people like kind of helped out, like manpower and whatnot. Put a new roof on the place, and cleaned it all up. And it was like I want to say like 6 months to a year cleanup, and just gutting it, and just like I said, full gut rehab. So as a kid, we were living in a trailer during that time. Outside the house, like rebuilding this house, and like everywhere else, it's like 1/8 of an acre, or like these little plots, and we're like the biggest lot in the block. And like his long-term plan was to develop, and basically he became friends with like the owner of the block, Bob Bates, who was he was another kind of early mentor, just kind of influence on me. We'd always kind of just chit chat about travel and like seeing the world and whatnot. He would he'd constantly go to the Philippines, and like just world traveler. Had a lot of commercial real estate as well. His son was like 30 or 40 at the time, and kind of friends with him as well in the block. And just seeing these guys, and like seeing how down to earth, and like they're just regular people, and he's the one that owns the block that everybody else lives on. All these other people are, I've got to pay rent, and this and that, and it's a totally different train of thought. And he's over here like, how do I better my life or those around me? And my dad.
It's funny when you meet somebody that like has bought a town. You're like, hey, I bought a house, and someone else will say, I bought a town. What's a town? It's it's like 84 houses in a main street.
Or contributed like that to that extent,
Yeah.
No, it's crazy that some people really do, like they make such waves, for all of us to kind of experience. So that was really cool. And like I said, just kind of taught me a lot, and kind of sparked that fire, I guess, seeing that, and seeing how achievable it was. And
So the mainstream kind of guy, a lot of us entrepreneurial people, we start, and like I just did and you just did, was lawn service. You start, but maybe your family says your responsibility to be part of the household is that you've got to keep up on the lawn care of the house, go cut the yard, right?
$5 a week or whatever.
Yeah. And then my first thing was basically, extrapolating that to the neighborhood and saying, okay, little old lady doesn't want to pull her own weeds. Let me put a flyer on her door, and the landscaping thing. A lot of us as teenage boys, that's what we kind of step into. And I did a little bit of the, I think my first like leverage was hiring my friends and saying, okay, if I'm getting $20 from the little old lady and I split it up and, give 13 or 14 to my friends, and I keep 7 because I made the deal,
And, absolutely. It's super important.
Yeah.
Like it really boils down nowadays. It's not even so much tech. Like, I'm pretty good at tech, but nowadays it's really about just connecting with others, and having that human touch, and just really building those relationships.
Yeah. So many of us, we start with that, like Mark Cuban with his garbage bags, you with your entrepreneurism as a 12-year-old or 13-year-old, your first company that you've talked about in the past.
Computer consulting. Yep.
And then when it comes to really, what do you think that your first big deal was? Like, one-on-one client consulting thing. Can you explain what your first big deal was like? Wow, I kind of hit it. Because I know you did the domain flipping for a long time, and you were just rolling over money and rolling it over into whatever you thought was going to be as sellable as an internet real estate play almost. Can you talk about because these guys, I'm talking about like Instagram accounts and YouTube accounts and people setting up and getting their brand marketing across the platform,
premium domains, stuff like that, stuff that's brandable.
So can you tell these guys that, they're all young. So can you tell them what the internet was in the early days and that complete wild west of domain claim?
It's a small world, right? I know. I'm like, especially in the domain world or like digital marketing in general. Like they always say, it's like, it's so small at the top, right? So you have a really small crew of people that kind of stand out in the industry or whatever. So I was friends with like Rev Nissan, who recently died, but he owned like Nissan.com and like him and a bunch of other people like that. And like as you know, I own ChaseMobile.com.
Yeah, that's crazy. You're going to tell that story in a minute, but for now, tell me how you first became curious about like the domain play. Because how old were you when you started buying domains?
My first domain was probably like, I think it was like ChaseRules.com. And it was like, I was like 12 years old. I just
12 years old. 12 years old.
Was like, yo, like JavaScript. He was like showing me like, you know what I mean, here's how you can hack a computer, and like made a little pop-up script, you know what I mean, for desktop or whatever. Yeah. For like Windows environment. And I was just like, that's so simple. And just kind of learned as much as I could. And yeah, I mean, started a blog, and yeah, I mean, just started building websites and just kind of learning more about it. Just wanted to kind of, just for my own creativity, just explore it.
That Wild West era was, you know, I think, is it called ICANN or whoever the registries are?
Yeah.
You know, to know that this domain of .com, or now we have like 10,000 top level domain names, but nobody knows anything except for .com, .gov, you know,
that was
.io.
Whatever, so 5 years ago.
So when it first started and you were first looking at this and you were taking some of your lawnmower money and putting it into buying digital assets of domains.
So I guess, yeah, between that time, like I said, I kind of got like more into skateboarding and just networking and hanging out with people. And so around 12, 13, I like I told you earlier, I was just kind of, my family lived on a hill, kind of looking over like one of the towns in San Diego. Actually has like a panoramic of like 3 cities. Yeah. But I would like look at them like I mean, at the end of the day, like coming home from school, I'm just like, man, there's so many people like down there. If I just got like 1% to like, you know, I mean, sign up for my service, or, you know, I mean, just a fraction of that, just one small
capture the marketplace, the market.
Yeah, totally. So I'm like skateboarding and like, you know what I mean? Like, man, like when I get tired, I go and just like reflect. And so I was like, yeah, you know, like I'm going to turn that like you said, gardening money or whatever into like consulting money. So I started going around and passing out flyers, and yeah, I mean, hey, like, do you need computer repair or system tune-ups, whatever, just the most basic stuff. But that led into, you know, I mean, a couple years later, I got a job at a computer store. Basically ended up like partnering up with those guys. Just walked in like, hey, give me a job. And like within 5 minutes, they're like, yes, like hired. You know what I mean? Thanks for coming in. And I was like 14 at the time on a work permit. So I was 14 in school, in high school, skipped 2 grades, you know, I mean, two grades ahead, 14 years old, working first like a little fast food place. And then from there went to the computer store, but then pulling like $200 to $300 a day working on laptops. And like, you know, I mean, I just replaced a laptop keyboard for, you know, I mean, $125 or whatever. Right. Did it in 15 minutes and made that, you know, I mean, whatever based on commission. Yeah. And so I just, you know, I mean, again, kind of stoked that fire. And was just like, yo, like if you can do this, you know what I mean? Like what can't you do? So it was really inspiring. And, you know, I mean, met a lot of people through that, and just became kind of a managed service provider in San Diego. Yeah. Dealt with a lot of business owners, and, you know, I mean, kind of continued that trend. And as you know, a lot of people that are in business for themselves are definitely different thinkers, or, you know, I mean, have their own creative strategies and whatnot, and just kind of like a sponge, just tried to absorb it all. You know what I mean?
So it is partly the aptitude that you have to basically, you know, understand things relatively quickly. I think that all of us entrepreneurial people, we really do perceive the world in a logic and a data feed, and it really kind of primes us with our aptitude. But you just talked about, you know, the network, you know, part of it is your social network, but also understanding that this is a relationship that can parlay into something else.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I mean, life is always going to throw stuff at you, and the quicker you respond and, you know, I mean, make those decisions and just decisively move forward, the better off you usually are. Yeah. And so like we've talked a lot, you know, I mean, just even like, you know, I mean, having a mentor or something to bounce stuff off of or whatever, but, you know, I mean, just for yourself, you know, I mean, just having that direction is always important, whatever it takes to get there. You just got to have that resolute.
So you know that I'm launching this in Miami as the first place. It's going to be basically an academy to kind of protect these guys legally, and, you know, through their trust or through their formation of an LLC, and basically kind of the business navigation instead of owning things themselves. I'm going to be doing this. Can you kind of segue and share with me, how old were you when you got your first cease and desist? And what was that about? What was the first one, and then how many did it stack up to be? Can you tell that story?
It seems like yesterday when I was just a 16-year-old kid.
16-year-old kid getting a cease and desist.
Like, and the world is so bright.
Getting sued as a 16-year-old. Yeah. Again, the audience doesn't know you, so share the background about the origin and the letter and how that story played out.
So I had registered ChaseMobile.com way back in the day, and kind of just out of like curiosity, I went like, oh, cool, like it's available. And then obviously the revolution of kind of apps and everything, iPhone, whatever came about, and everybody started mobile banking. And all of a sudden, JP Morgan was like, hey, I used to get probably about 20 or 30 calls at least a day, every day to my cell phone, my personal cell phone, of just like, hey, like I'm like my account, this and that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is Chase Password.
This is my personal account.
Like, this
I'm
is
not
Chase,
the bank.
A lot less money. Wrong Chase. So no, I would I would redirect them and whatnot, and like tell them like, hey, like this is just my personal cell phone. I own that domain name or whatever. And eventually, a few months of that or whatever, and JP Morgan couldn't ignore it. And I had Mark Monitor. So Mark Monitor, if anybody's familiar with that, is a corporation that basically monitors trademarks and brand related IP, and monitors and alerts and like sends cease and desist and whatever. And so I started getting letters from Mark Monitor in the mail. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, like
stop infringing on our brand.
Yeah, no, they were like basically like stop and give us the demand, like hand it over in like a forcible way. They were like, do it or else. And I was just like, or else what? Like, my name's Chase. I'm totally in the clear here. Like,
I have a mobile phone.
Totally. I have a mobile phone. No, but there was legitimate use case. I was using it as like just a website and for commerce and whatnot. And like for anybody familiar with IP, like intellectual property law, it's time in the market and first origin of commerce or whatever in the market. And so over the course of like, I want to say like 6 or 7 years, we settled an agreement. We came to a coexistence agreement that allowed them use of the mark as a service mark, not a trademark, but they later registered a trademark in like a different category. And basically just, the only stipulation on my side was just basically have like at the bottom, like a disclaimer, like, hey, yo, I'm not JP Morgan. Go to JP Morgan if you're looking for Chase Bank.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm totally cool with that. And just dealing with that and kind of seeing the process and familiarizing with just kind of what goes on and something like that. I learned a lot, and it was an extraordinary experience. Now,
did they end up again? You had lawyers on their side. They had lawyers on your side. They had to battle it out as far as IP and ownership, and then. Did you come to some kind of agreement where there was like they could co-op or they could use your resource or what?
Well, so that was what the coexistence agreement allowed them to use it for the mobile app as a service mark at the time.
Yeah.
And basically what I had to do like on the lawyer side was so they could never take it from me is further establish my usage of it. And then what they call it is basically it's what be like after a time has elapsed and you filed the proper paperwork and gone through the process, you get what is called like an irrevocable status. So they can't ever take it from you.
Yeah.
Like if someone challenges it. And so now I have an irrevocable status on it. And if they ever want it, they have to come and make an offer to buy the .net, .com, .org, .biz, .us, whatever.
Nice.
And it was, like I said, it was just, it was somewhat exhausting.
Yeah. 7 years. It sounded like 7 years.
No, and it was like I wouldn't say anxiety causing, but it was one of those things where it's just always in the back of your head. You're like, oh, I'm fighting the biggest bank in the world. Literally, like they're one of the biggest. And when they first sent me the cease and desist, I looked into like some of the stuff they had done. And like I was just seeing like this history of like they had squashed an uprising in Mexico. So there was like a financial
foreign national countries, and they're like, let's chase after Chase. Let's get Chase. The 16-year-old that's
they're gonna come
giving
in
us
and
a problem.
squash all these rebels. I just might disappear, and you know what I mean. It's nice knowing you, Gary.
It's crazy.
So always in the back of your head, you're just like, wow, you know what I mean. You're going up against these huge guns, and like I said earlier, just you got to stay focused, and you know what I mean, keep pushing ahead.
Yeah, and you ended up winning out of that. I know that you get paid significantly and things like that for that use case.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you keep your head on straight, most of the time you'll come out on top.
Great. So I know that you got into hot rods. I know you got into cars and lifestyle things. I know that you're really a technical server. You know, you have things like data stations and things like that. Can you talk about like? Yeah. So tell me a few things that you're involved with now and how your previous story got you here.
Basically, like that kind of started really early on. Like right when I kind of started the consulting stuff.
Yeah,
I saw all the internet stuff, and I mean, like the scene, the climate changing, and was like, yeah, you got to get ahead of this curve. You know what I mean? And basically, just kind of saw the writing on the wall, and tried to, I don't know, just like at that time, I was just like wanting to learn so much on the tech side, but I realized it's not just about the tech. Right. The tech is just ends to a means, like end to means, where basically like it's about the people. It's about who you can reach. And I've always been a big like cinema fan and kind of media guy. I always realized the potential of the reach there way before influencers were a thing, or you know what I mean? Like, but it's the same thing. Like, you know what I mean, nowadays it's so easy to capture that audience or create your following. Back then I was just like, wow, like just kind of segue. One of my earliest investments, actually, I had talked my dad into it, and it actually turned out to not work out. But we had invested in a Netflix competitor, GamesInflix. So at the time, like I was seeing Netflix, and I mean, like I always I checked that if you'd invested in Netflix, I mean, like whatever, it's like a calculator online,
billionaire or something.
Yeah, if we put the same money into the Netflix, I mean, IPO at the time or whatever, or like stock at that time. It would have been worth like a couple $100 million nowadays. But it was like 10 grand. I was just like I was kind of a jerk kid, and was kind of yelled at my dad, like, dude, we got to do this. Like the world's changing. You know what I mean? And I was able to convince him, and we went in on it, and it was a risky play, and that one didn't work out. But I mean, it was for streaming. It was like basically a Netflix that streamed movies and games. And so now just recently Netflix is like, yeah, we're gonna stream games now too. I'm just like, oh man.
There it is.
It was like what a GameFly or whatever back in the day.
Yeah.
There were a couple other services. Yeah. So it was like that. I just I mean a little too early on that one. But stuff like that, you see the scene changing, and the sooner you kind of I mean, like I said, about just like kind of decisively moving forward. If you don't know where you're going, it's like they always say, like, it's not so much about speed, it's about direction. I mean, if you know where you're going, you can keep, I mean, walking that path no matter how slow or fast you go.
Right.
You just got to know where you're headed.
Right.
And so, I mean, well, like that's been a large kind of factor in my life of just, I mean, kind of knowing what I want to build, and I mean, where I want to go, and just trying to achieve that. So it's just
when we were talking in 2018, you were in the real estate network stuff of Puerto Rico. You were I think you had like paid as far as a money processing company. I think that you bought a bank, and where did you buy the bank? Where is it, Montana or somewhere?
So I bought a bank in South Dakota. Yeah.
You bought a bank in South Dakota? Because everybody needs a bank in South Dakota.
Everybody needs a bank in South Dakota, exactly.
So you bought a bank, and then what did you decide to?
It's one of the few states that still values free speech, you know what I mean? And protection of, I mean, a lot of things. They're very business friendly. They're very freedom friendly. You know what I mean? Like protect all the things. Like South Dakota is a very interesting place. And I came across this deal where it was like it was the first bank of the town, built in like 1912.
Oh my God, dude!
Yeah,
I bought a bank from 1912 in South Dakota.
It's got two walk-in vaults. So like, you know what I mean, these big vault doors that, you know what I mean, with the whole
yeah.
You walk in, there's a bunch of, you know what I mean, money, like whatever.
Like Dillinger should have robbed that place back in the 30s or something.
Maybe he did. But it was also, it was actually kind of funny. I looked into the history of it, and it was the town was named after this guy Roscoe Salmon, who was the son-in-law of, it was Salmon Chase. Was the treasurer.
The Chase guy.
Yeah, so like the guy, this guy Chase was the treasurer at the time. He's on like a $10,000 bill. You know what I mean? So it's Chase, and it's like a $10,000 bill.
He was on the $10,000 bill. Okay.
Yeah. And so his son was like this politician who was like a boxer. And like if you look him up, Roscoe, South Dakota, and like look into the history of it, the town was named after this guy who married his daughter, Salmon P. Chase or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, even funnier. And it's like my first name is Mitchell, so it's Mitchell Chase. Chase Caster.
Yeah.
And the street's on Mitchell Street. So I was like,
that's crazy. It's like you were destined to buy a building. You're like, maybe it's not gonna be a good deal. I don't know the use case of a bank in South Dakota or wherever.
Well, no, funny enough, and this is why I'm looking at the property, and before I ever like considered buying it, first thing I notice is it's got redundant power. It's got 2 HVAC systems. It's built out bank grade security already. It's a concrete building, and it sits right on top of the fiber line. So it has uplink of like, I want to say it's like 40 terabytes a second. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like literally like 30 feet away from the town's like main power distribution and fiber. So I called up a couple of the fiber companies in the area. Had some conference calls with like their executive teams, and was like, hey, here's my plan. You know, I mean, I'm going to build this little storage node basically out here. Can you guys service it?
Yeah.
And I mean, mine and host stuff out there, just like my own little like storage cloud basically for my hosting company.
Yeah.
I have a couple other racks and facilities around the States.
Yeah.
And I was just like, let's put it to use.
It's weird. I talked to Kinman, and he'll say something like, yeah, I went spearfishing earlier today. I got paid, $30,000 on affiliate marketing. And then I talked to Chase, and I'll say, yeah, I bought a bank, and I'm going to turn it into a data center. And, it just my personal cloud. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Who are these people that I know? What is this all about?
Yeah. Some of the people I've met through you, or just, some of the stuff I hear.
I mean, the connections, and it is part of the network. Like I introduce you to people, you introduce me to people, it ends up being this thing. Like, hopefully you're able to join us when, if I get this plane, Tom, my friend that you've met, I think you might've met him before. He used to live upstairs. He's a private jet pilot for a billionaire, and we're trying to fly from like Miami to Scottsdale in November.
Yeah. Like we were talking.
Yeah. Be exciting. So it is part of the network. I mean, we're all young guys. I mean, I'm not as young as all of you other assholes, but I'm still loving this enthusiasm. It's very similar to when I was running the accelerator in Palo Alto. It's all of these people that have like ambition, and they also have intellect. They just need to kind of know where the rails are. Like, here's the rails, and I'm gonna go. And so when you bet on when you're looking as an angel or you're an investor or whatever, you might be looking at the product and say, this is a product market. This is a product that has a market fit. This is something that has a moat, like Richard talks about. It has defendable IP. Maybe I can get it patented, and you're betting on the product or the service or the concept. And that might be one thing, but the other half of it is, who is this that came up with this idea, innovated this thing, made this pitch, and put it in front of me?
Yeah, you don't invest in ideas, you invest in the people.
Absolutely.
I mean, ideas are cheap, and it's all about execution.
Absolutely.
Anybody can parrot an idea, or if you come up with an idea, how often did somebody already come up with it 20 years before you?
Yeah.
We all have such a small frame of reference. It's like my dad would always say, or many people say, like, nothing's new under the sun. What I mean? It's all been thought of before. People back in Egyptian times were flying around on hang gliders or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Icarus and going up to the sun and getting their wax melted. Yeah.
And they had air conditioning back in ancient India and stuff like that, just from, using the elements. So it's stuff like, people want it, like even me, like I realize this, I come up with something, I'm like, okay, like how does that tie into the rest of the world or whatever? But a lot of it's just a logical progression. You know
right.
what I mean? Seeing what's happening and following that trend.
Updating your view of what the world is doing. So
not being so rigid. Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. So a lot of people, they will get one thing and they'll get that going and then they'll obsess over that single thing. Yeah. Okay. So right now, the data center, the bank, that narrative, that's funny. You're constantly, again, I've known you always to be someone that has not just one income stream because you sell your time, not just as far as consulting, not just one income stream because you own some, rent kind of vehicle like a data center. Can you talk about the necessity as we go into 2022 and beyond for young guys to look at multiple income streams? How do you set up relatively passive things and spin those plates?
That's something I've always been really, really adamant about is diversifying and staying. Yeah. Because like early on, especially like for me, like I was working like in my teenage years, I was working like 3 jobs part-time or whatever and going to school. And like I said, graduated high school at 16 and went into college with a bunch of credits. So I'm running around in college at 16. Yeah, I mean,
60. You're Doogie Howser. You're fucking
dude. In
16-year-old guy in college.
I would have to go to my professors at the beginning of class against semesters and say, "Hey, I run a small business. I'm 16. You know what I mean? I'm just getting this stuff off the ground.
I just did this college thing on the side. My business
basically,
my drive as a 16-year-old.
I might receive calls during class, and I don't want you to think I'm being rude if I walk out to answer the call. I just want you to be aware of that. You know what I mean? I'll come back and like I'll be
Chase.
I was always engaged.
You're a maniac, man.
I was always a very engaged student, so they would, I hope appreciate that or whatever. But they would always be like, thank you. Like,
thank you for sharing your time with the class today, Chase.
Yeah, but no, just that like just manners of like I'm not gonna walk out while you're speaking to like an engaged group of students and totally blow you off because at the time it wasn't 2021 where everybody ignores their cell phone and like back in the day you'd actually answer it and like I'd answer. That was my thing too. Like when I first got my cell phone, I would answer every call. Hello, this is Chase. Hello, how can I help you?
Customer service, man. Always give more than you get. Yeah,
and people would always they respond to that. They'd always be like, dude, I can always get a hold of you. I know you're going to steer me right. You know what I mean? And I can trust you. And so that really built a lot of important formative relationships.
I love it. So snapshot of 2021. We've gone through the bull of 17 that became the bear in crypto. And now we're in, the Hexicans. I introduced you to some of the OG guys. We're doing this pulse thing, stuff like that. Snapshot about who is Chase today. Why, they were giving you some crap earlier about your Bitcoin shirt, because this is Hexicans are kind of watching this thing. But we kind of look at the bigger picture as you perceive it, as someone that's, tied in, talking to network, talking to people that are wealthy, talking to people in the streets. I mean, how do you see the digital economy, the digital asset narrative, the crypto speculative bubble of whatever is going on, and as far as the other crypto assets that are not Hex and not Pulse? Give me a snapshot of what 22 is for you, because you've been around this game for a while.
Obviously we're seeing more and more by the day, just more mainstream adoption, and I think it's like most backers and like people who've been in for a while, I believe it's just going to keep getting bigger. Like right now we're we're in one of those valleys that we've been in before. And it's just a matter of time, So Hex, like you said earlier, I was kind of kicking myself for not getting earlier.
When did I tell you about Hex? Was it half a penny?
Like a year ago,
It was a year and a half ago, and I was like, "Hey,
like a year and a half ago." Yeah, exactly.
You should look at this. It's like 0.2 penny. We're gonna get to a penny one day, and you're like, "Yeah, good luck with that,
like, dude." Yeah, no, I think Richard had just come down and was like visiting, and you're like, "Come hang out," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so busy." I gotta, I'm gonna have another appointment or something. Like, didn't hang out. And, just saw it kind of going on. Just like watching from a distance, like, oh man. As it grew and 20x and 50x or whatever, just like, oh.
Hey, it's like 380,000% up now. From its all-time low.
Want to talk about it.
Yeah, I know. It's like, God damn it.
No, and like I said, nobody's perfect. You can't always. It's like with this kind of stuff, it's not traditional. You know what I mean? So there's
it's reflexive. Everything's reflexive.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation in the market these days, and yeah, it is very reflexive. And it's just, you know what I mean, stuff where, yeah, like I always do my own due diligence. I don't just listen to people. They're like, hey, you do this. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Blind trust, like trust but verify kind of thing.
Don't be a lemming. Yeah,
exactly. If everybody's doing it. So I looked into it and I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll just kind of keep an eye on it. And then it started pumping and I'm like, okay, like keep an eye on it. And it's like that meme where it's just like, like, okay, like, you know what I mean?
When it dips, and then,
all of a sudden, like, they're like buying pizzas and then like countries are adopting it and like they're using it for space travel. And he's just like, you know what I mean? So no, I was just in the background, like watching, like, damn, should have hopped on that one, like right at the start. So I have a bunch of buddies too that are like run signal groups and, you know what I mean, like are hold some pretty big bags.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, man, like you told me about it. Like cause I had talked to them about it after I talked to you a year and a half ago.
And they're like, no, Richard, he was the Bitcoin maxi and we loved him. And then we don't like him anymore because he's not talking about Bitcoin only anymore.
Yeah. All the drama and exactly. You've talked about all the gatekeepers in the community and whatnot. Yeah. And they looked at it and I mean, we were kind of like, okay, yeah, we'll watch and see.
They're like, it's taking
later, like, oh man.
Well, I mean, again, I was talking earlier before you came onto the channel. You heard me, I think, though. I was talking about Aubrey and the Sins Foundation, and you know they've raised over $200 million in total as far as the sacrifice, but something like 22 million of it is direct stock, direct cash, direct, you know, other things that get sold and liquidated on Coinbase to Sins. I think it's pretty good affiliations that we're, you know, as Hexicans getting. So that's pretty cool. But like I said, I want to rub the salt into the wound. You know, Hex is going beyond $1, in my opinion, not financial advice. So there's always meat on the bone out there, guys. We're only at like 16 or 18 pennies or whatever we are today.
Oh, yeah, but we're below right now. So
yeah. So talk about so the snapshot as far as crypto is one thing, but can you talk a little bit about the ADD culture we live in, the brand influence, the gravitas of having 100,000 followers versus 3,000, and how that parlays into your newest businesses? Because I know you have a couple of other companies that you've bought recently.
Yeah, so I've become a partner in a couple other ventures that we talked. One of them is a media company owned by this guy Dave, who's like big time. Like he's been in the film industry for like 30 or 40 years. I think like 40 something years or whatever. And his friend, like personal friends with a bunch of the old like 60s and 70s producers and like, I mean, all the important guys in New York and Chicago kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And used to have a chain of VHS stores. And, you know what I mean, like all of that died out with the whole Blockbuster, you know what I mean, going away. And he's like, yeah, we got to bring everything online, and reconnected with him. And yeah, basically taken over. Like we haven't talked about it on here, but you know, I have some background in Hollywood and like film promotions, media production in general. I have a media agency, giant.net.
Yep.
And I work with one of my good friends, longtime friends and partners is Jay West, Hollywood Vine Group. So it's one of like the largest Hollywood social media management agencies. We have clients like Danny Trejo, Jay and Silent Bob, you know what I mean? Stuff like a lot of B-listers, but good
shit. I mean, recognizable pop culture people. These are pop culture people.
Exactly. The people that, like the hosts and stuff. You know what I mean? Not necessarily Tom Cruise or whatever, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like some Owen Wilson or whatever, some A-lister that's like, you know what I mean?
But Jay and Silent Bob, I mean, they should be A-listers. I love these guys.
Yeah, like Kevin. Yeah, Kevin's the host of San Diego Comic-Con nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's familiar with Comic-Con, you know what I mean? The boat and like all the Kevin Smith stuff. It's pretty cool to see the back end of that. Yeah. And like one year, like the first year they did it, Google reached out and they're like, yo, like we have this new feature we're testing. Like we want to do real-time news updates for specific search terms. So for anybody that searches San Diego Comic-Con, we're gonna have a real-time news feed. I want you guys posting on it. You know what I mean? So we got to like work directly with that and like basically like proxy and like intermediaries for that. So that's really, you know, I mean, kind of cool. Yeah. And just like opportunities like that, you know, kind of pop up all the time from just rubbing shoulders with those kinds of people. So
That's cool. I mean, you were able to parlay those things. So when I was 20 years old, I married, and I loved my relationship. It went for a great 10 years. So a chapter of my life, I was special forces as far as the medical stuff and the military, but her family were very high up in Disney Corporation, extremely high up.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, so all of the ABC people, all the movie people, all the production people, all the network that I knew as a 25 to 30-year-old, when she was really stepping up her game in influence, I kind of like, that's like infotainment, that's like sugar pop. I look down on it. I like
ADD culture nowadays. That's the bubblegum of our society. Yeah, I mean, that's what every day, like everybody complains, oh, mainstream media, this and that. Yeah, because we've all bought into these little 15-second video clips, reels or TikToks or Vine videos. Dating myself.
Yeah,
that's fine. What I mean? But like, for example, just to kind of even more emphasize it, like the Paul brothers and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and people are so hating on these dudes, but like, you see that they've like captured the attention of the entire world, basically, like just by doing some backflips on a green screen over traffic and then parlaying that into a Disney, position, like acting on the shows and fighting the world's best boxers and stuff, So it's just like creatively crafting, your own narrative almost. And like in this, I want to say like kind of vapid society that we live in at the moment, people have always loved a story. It's always about storytelling. Some of the greatest businessmen are great storytellers and stuff like that. But it's like even more important these days because, like you said, it's so ADD. Like you have to capture the attention. You have to capture it. You have to really push what you're trying to push out there. And you have to push your message in a clear, decisive format. And it's just, there's so much noise in today's society, that you have to kind of overcome. It's just really interesting to kind of, have that snoochie boochies. Exactly. Yeah. So, just working with that kind of scene, and like I kind of envy your background in the Disney stuff because you could have been some huge Disney producer or
I like my military life and my medical, and I was a little bit snobby as a 20-something-year-old. I was like, that's just calories. That isn't. I mean, that's just like sugar calories. It's not doing shit for the world.
Where he's like totally like a soldier. Like you guys are definitely. Right off. Is very like-minded on that. Very hard work.
That was as a 20-something-year-old, and then later I realized, hey, kind of the world moves with pop culture and digital assets, and meme and gaming. I mean, it really is the ADD culture of 2021 for sure.
And I personally don't buy into it that much. I mean, like I said, more of an introvert, more just self-examining and reflective, I guess. But you from that, you look around and you see it. It's so obvious. Like people feed on it. What I mean? And like I said, 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't as crazy as it is nowadays. But our society is like totally shifted towards that, and it just seems to be getting more and more cemented. What I mean? That digital presence and stuff is very important.
So Pulse Chain is basically the Ethereum all over again. It's almost like, even though you're not really buying in an ICO, it's, when you were around when Ethereum launched, and when Ethereum launched, it wasn't anything other than Vitalik. The Silicon Valley money tapping into the Bitcoin narrative. We're going to do smart contracts. Nobody knew what it was, and it was just speculative throw.
Spitballing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was right after the whole DAO, right? The whole DAO crash and like that whole scam, and like people lost a lot of money, and then boom, here's Ethereum, and it was the new thing on the scene. And I know some people that got in pretty big really early on, and like Steve Howe out in Florida, and even like Ben Cagle, Monster Ads, some of those guys, and they were buying ETH when it was like a couple bucks or pennies and stuff at the time or whatever. So So you saw that network develop. You saw those developers come on board. They built their own individual things, and
you know, kind of the Crypto Kitties thing of 17 also made it relatively unusable as far as cost and transaction speed. And then we saw this play out again. If you were part of like, or you paid attention to all the Uniswap stuff and all the expense of Ethereum recently, I think that's why we're getting so much participation in this parallel, you know, this fork of Ethereum's entire system state. So I don't know if you really kept your eye, because I haven't talked to you much about crypto other than the best performing asset of all of 2020 and 2021 and 22 and 23. I really am a little bit kind of in love with this thing called Hex. But outside of that, other people pay attention. It's called Hex. You might have heard of it. HEX. It's hard to misspell.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. There's a .com. You might want to look at hex.com.
Yeah. By the way, three-letter domains. Like
three-letter domain. Can you believe that Richard got a three-letter domain of a hex, a popular word?
How much did you pay for that, Richard?
It had to be over 100 grand.
I got some good ones, but yeah, man.
It actually used to be the Helsinki Exchange. So it actually used to be a stock trade exchange. HEX used to be Helsinki's exchange.
Oh, interesting.
So he bought it from them. So it may have been $500,000, may have been $1 million. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure just even, I mean, something that's not a dictionary word like hex or like something pronounceable goes for a pretty penny nowadays. For so.
But did you pay attention to all the NFT stuff, all of the DeFi stuff? Did you pay attention to it in this last surge?
So like we talked the other day at breakfast. I can't talk about it yet, but we're actually doing an NFT project for a really big online gaming platform. Something that's been around for, I mean, probably about 20 years now, I would say.
Right.
And it's similar to Pokemon. Basically, it has a huge following. I mean, tons of active users every day.
Right.
And we're about to launch some NFTs for those guys. But I've been in that space, as you know, consulting and doing like ICO stuff back in 2018 when I first came down here, and kind of led the way towards that. And I mean, working with some of those the bigger players on that. So. Yeah,
I definitely need to link you with a good friend, Sai. He's Hex Toys, hex.toys. So if you go to the URL of hex.toys, he's excellent. I think he's out of the UK or somewhere like that. And that's what I was saying before is kind of like you talk about the Comic-Con and the Kevin Smith, and I know he had all of his comic book stuff and things like that for a long time. You and I have talked before about like Todd McFarlane collectible and action figure, and how, you know, the premium ones are like $500, $700 because they're so well done.
Figures and whatever. Yeah, and you see these things drop or whatever. Like they say, oh, limited edition drops.
Yeah.
It'll be like 500 to 1,000 units or whatever. And 5 years later, it's worth 10 times the price or whatever.
Yeah.
So all this, again, speculative market. And I mean, people are like, as we're seeing with all the collectibles and even like right now, used cars and like, I mean, commodities that have a lot of value, you're seeing a lot of speculative appreciation. And NFT thing, I think, is just beginning. Because, I mean, that's something I've been onto for a few years. Early on, like Ethereum first launched, we were working with a group where we were basically trying to bring like government payments, municipal payments for all the regions and stuff, using stuff like that, and tokenizing assets and, I mean, stuff like that. So the more NFTs kind of gain adoption and we have more tokenized assets and, you know, stuff on the blockchain, the better. You know? Yeah. So yeah, that's just so the NFT, the one that I like, just because I've always been like a comic book guy that put stuff inside of plastic sleeves, stuck it underneath my bed, and then went off into the military. I went off into the military. I went into the military, and I come back as a 20-year-old 3 years later with fucking hardened attitude, and I say, "Mom, where's my comic books?" And she says, "Where's my box of comic books?"
They're gone. You know, and I'm like, ah! It's the same story people hear about. How could you? You know, the love of a mother and a son, it just gets damaged because you gave away my comic books that I saved up. Okay, so like I like that tangible thing. That's why I'm a classic car. You're a big classic car guy.
Yeah, I have a lot of art. Yeah, I have a bunch of canvas. I have like probably 60 or I want to say 60 something canvas paintings at the moment. A bunch of them are stored out in South Dakota or even a couple of my parents' house. Like,
and then automobilia. I mean, you and I are aligned about our automobilia. I think you do a lot more fast things, but I do a lot more like older things. Yeah, I have 8 cars right now. Isn't that the way it is? I was saying people that are Hexicans, they've been following me for a while, and I kind of comment every so often. They'll be like, "Is that for real or is that bullshit?" I used to have a 12-car garage. I used to have all this. I bought Richard Carpenter's from the Carpenter Music Group. I bought one of his cars, and he signed the thing, and it went into a museum.
Yeah, you've had some nice pieces over the years.
Yeah, I bought Howard Hughes's. I bought one of Howard Hughes's buses that was on set, and then it ended up in a museum in Fraser, Michigan. So you and I have been parallel with the automobilia, parallel sort of with you did the domain stuff more than I never did the domain stuff as far as flipping.
I think like I've told you, like I come from a blue collar family, and in my mind at least, working with a little less, I thought, that was my best play is the digital space, and leveraging my talent and my brain. Not moving rocks or whatever and building houses at the time, but trying to build stuff online.
All of my farmer family, and I did do that for a long time, and I got joy out of the manual labor, honestly, truthfully.
Oh, no, I love that side
of construction of a house and things like that. I just did it 2 months ago.
It's hard to balance that, because it's like I could, you too, like you could do everything yourself. But
frame it out and do all the drywall.
Mm-hmm. Oh, exactly. And like I said, growing up, doing gut rehab and all that stuff, we had to do that. Child labor.
You're free labor for the family.
Yeah. That was why they had 3 sons, put us to work.
Right.
So we were sanding drywall and, demoing walls and stuff at, 5, 6, 7 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
And always had a very strong work ethic was instilled in us, really early on. And I think that's like I was saying earlier, discipline. Like obviously your special ops background and being a heart surgeon and whatnot, you have to be extremely disciplined. Yeah. You have to know, what you're doing and execute in the heat of the moment. And a lot of people, they're either not prepared or they're not, they're not willing to engage like that. Whereas one of my business partners from a few years ago would always say, like, showing up is half the grid. Just coming and showing up and putting your energy forward and putting yourself into that's half of it.
Right.
So,
I'm going to wrap it up a little bit, but kind of give me your estimation again. When we talk about NFTs, I know Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about it. He really believes in the NFT narrative. You have commented about NFT, the value of a blue check mark. Now, on the other side, Richard thinks that, paying $69 million for an NFT that's basically an Instagram account is foolish. However, on Pulse, a fork of the NFT on Ethereum will be on Pulse. So there's going to be some price speculation about if it holds value and it's a JPEG and it's on Ethereum, and you have effectively a fork of the NFT, of the the DEX, of all the things that are on Ethereum, and now you have Pulse. What is your thought about like the price discovery mechanism? Because I wanted to bring you on partly because you kind of early on saw maybe the value of a domain and flipped those constantly and made money with flipping domains. Just like in real estate, you say, hey, I see this thing that might be a little bit undervalued compared to the marketplace, and flip it.
Make money when you buy, not when you sell. Right?
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about like this thing that Richard is doing that is Pulse, that's right now in the sacrifice phase? What are your thoughts about the NFT market, the degenerate casino player gamer that's in the crypto space? What is your thought about like the price narrative of Pulse?
I mean, it's a heavy question. Like you said, I think there's still a lot of meat on the bone. I think we're really early on. I do kind of agree with Richard a little bit on the digital stuff. It seems a little backwards. Like, oh, I'm buying nothing. I'm buying air, the digital rights. But with me and like my background with the whole JP Morgan thing and, intellectual property law and my understanding of that, it's a lot more important than people, I think, give credit to. You know what I mean? A lot of people are like, oh, you're buying nothing, but no, you own the rights to that. Like nobody can print it on a shirt or, whatever your protections are, that you apply.
Legal structure of a centralized authority, right? Your government is defending your right.
Or license for, there's so many different things. Like people always say, oh, like we could go a whole nother discussion about this, but nowadays, like the data, like data is gold, but like people don't understand what data is. You know what I mean? Data is basically just people, and it's their consumer patterns, and you know what I mean, what they do. So like the NFT side it's super important because you know what I mean, you're securing your rights to stuff that's out there in the world. So whether it's a painting and you're like, yo, like I don't need to have the Mona Lisa sitting in my house, but like I'm the owner of it, you know what I mean? I have an NFT like certificate like backing that or whatever. You know what I mean, it's just a hypothetical, but something like that. It's I think it's, like I said, it's the future of things. And yeah, I mean, we're still so early on in that curve.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to see it. Yeah. I mean, become more adopted.
Yeah.
Pulse, I need to get more into Hex and Pulse in general. So
hey, people are buying Hex so that they can put it into Pulse so that they can, you know, see what's going to happen. It's a complete speculation, you know, as far as what it will or won't do. And it's very similar to the Ethereum narrative of 5 or 6 years ago. It's very similar to the, hey, what if a bunch of cypherpunks get together and create this thing called Bitcoin and start mining it? I mean, that's kind of the meat of being an entrepreneur. The meat of an entrepreneur is, hey, I don't know what's on the other side of that mountain, but I'm going to go look. Like,
yeah, oh yeah,
you know?
It's the whole jumping off a cliff and building the plane as you fall kind of thing. you gotta know what you're doing, but you gotta make that leap.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you spending your time with us. We spent about an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes or something like that. It's been amazing. And I want to share, I know that you're not as public inside of the streaming platforms because you really have like 12 different pokers and fires, man. I mean, you've got a lot of different businesses going on. Can you know,
some days I'll get, I mean, hundreds of messages on Facebook about some of the groups I run, and I mean, just
absolutely. You're always constantly busy. Can you tell the audience that watches right now? We've got 81 people watching, and then we've got probably, maybe this will go up to like 1,000 views or something like that. Smash the like. This is the Discourse Syndicate. If you're in the audience,
subscribe, like,
smash the like. Do all the things.
I mean, he's always got something fun, cool to learn.
Yeah.
Cool to talk about. So.
But can you tell, you know, kind of quickly what your, you know, if any people wants to follow you, how can they find you? What would the, you know, where can they?
So I'm pretty, as you know, you can find me many places on the internet. Just Google Chase Gassard or ChaseIdeas, ChaseIdeas.com.
ChaseIdeas.
ChaseIdeas.com.
I love it.
That's my main, main agency, like for my personal stuff. And then my whole like corporate agency is giant.net. So giant.net. Yeah. Real simple.
And you're on Twitter, you're ChaseIdeas also, right?
Yeah. Twitter at whatever ChaseIdeas.
I think you got like 20,000 people follow you or something like that. They're always wondering what you're doing.
That fluctuates. Yeah. It's been.
What do you think of Twitter? Like, how do you utilize Twitter? Is it distribution of your knowledge, or is it just like following other?
I've never really, I mean, like you said, I'm kind of more private, but I've always used it as a platform for my clients and for other projects and whatnot. And I probably have, like on my last pass, I probably have like 200 plus Twitter accounts, login saved or whatever.
That's the same with me. I think I have like 10 or 12 Twitters, but I really only do Funding Gym and the same thing like you. Even though I'm entrepreneurial, I like a small little fighting party, a little fire team, a little platoon kind of relationship. So like the public, stepping into the public sphere and being like out there on YouTube and things like that, that was an uncomfortable spot for me actually. And you're kind of the same way. Like you're always doing something and you're always super networked, but like the social branding thing of an individual, I always felt like that's one reason why when I was in my 20s, when I was married into the Disney family and stuff, you know, they approached me about, you know, doing some stuff with ABC and stuff like that. And I was like, nah, I just don't want to be a stage guy. And now I'm kind of converting. I'm kind of like, okay, let's look at getting the message out.
The media mogul.
I
want to be the guy that owned the theater. You know what I mean? Playing the movies.
I want to own the theater. I don't want to be on the stage. Yeah, exactly.
I want to own the media company.
But so basically ChaseIdeas, people look for you on ChaseIdeas. And then
I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion and hopefully you learned something or
just
enjoyed the time.
And then we'll be bringing Chase, everybody that's watching right now, we're going to be bringing Chase into the fold, so to speak. He does have, I'm going to comment because we're just going to wrap it up really fast. He does have a multimedia companies. He does have all kinds of stuff like on the video on demand companies. He has real estate plays in Puerto Rico. He's been an Act 2022 guy for a long, long time. Just a great resource inside the community. And I think that he can help us with punching through some of the algorithm issues. Again, he's super knowledgeable about how these things are working to get your message or your brand out. What'd you say?
I can definitely create a stir.
Yeah,
definitely hear about.
Yeah, it. He's helped people get from 1,000 followers to like 100,000 followers.
I've
kind
helped
of
run
thing.
super PACs. I've been like during the whole Clinton and Trump thing. I was tapped by the Clinton group to promote their super PAC. Yeah,
there's always something new with you, Chase. I can't ever get all of it.
Well, so check this out. Instead, I had it was an advertising industry like relationship, and she reached out to me. This girl, and she was like, "Yo, like I know you've done political marketing for us in the past, and that's kind of some of my background as well." I mean, the Clinton Foundation just reached out to us to like promote. Like, can you help us? And I was like, well, I mean, I'm more, kind of
stay out of the politics.
I like to be a little more agnostic on things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not going to say like I love or hate, whatever. So I created my own super PAC, and I started promoting my own super PAC on Facebook.
You're the only guy I know that's created their own super PAC. Like, let's do a super PAC time.
Yeah, no, we'll go into that another time. But there's a whole story.
Man. So it's good sharing with you. Like I said, I want to get you into the core of. I think that you're a great resource for like what we're going to be doing in Miami and Medellin and Puerto Rico and Kiev, and we're going to be spreading out once we do this academy, this first real estate play. But I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to bring you in, and definitely want to. We'll talk more offline, but not today. But I have to go right after I end the stream. But definitely. Yeah, I'm excited to get you networked with some of the other people I know, and the community is embracing you, man. Really happy to have you on board.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And,
okay.
Like you said, let's talk soon, and we'll schedule something.
All right. Later, guy. Take care later. All right, guys. Sorry about that. So thanks so much for Chase joining, and I'm going to do an outro, and then I have to run off, but really appreciate you guys. Smash that like, share on Twitter, put it out there. Chase is an amazing person. He is super networked. He's very focused when he's on task. He just kills it with network and business building. So out of the entrepreneurial pool that Hexicans really represent, he's a terrific addition, and you will enjoy his future content. But for now, I got to go. See you guys later.